But Canada doesn't live because of the United States. Canada thrives because we are Canadian.
I don't know about you, but hearing our Prime Minister versus that train wreck of a speech that we heard from the Tangerine Tyrant at Davos gives me a sigh of relief that we have a sane leader for our country. Welcome back. Today's video is going to be a mixed bag of what we're going to talk about. Canada has been officially uninvited from a group that we already declined. Las Vegas is begging us to come back and throwing the exchange rate at par to lure us. And the state of Maine is now getting an ice storm. Not this kind of ice storm, but like this one, the bad one. All of these stories connect back to the same larger trend we've been watching unfold, which is caused by this one guy and those who voted for him. So we're going to talk about all of this in today's video. The backdrop for today comes from Cat Daddy, from our Discord server, who took this photo from Kelowna, British Columbia. I think it's been at least 15 years since I've been to Kelowna. And this year I was supposed to go on a Kelowna golf trip with my friends. I am planning to come back home probably in May or June, so I'm hoping I can still go. Thanks Cat Daddy for posting these up in the Discord server. Okay, let's get into the first report on the Tangerine Tyrant uninviting Canada to his party when we already told the idiot no.
And we have some developing news. US President Donald Trump is withdrawing his invitation to Prime Minister Mark Carney to join his Board of Peace. Trump posting on Truth Social, "Dear Prime Minister Carney, please let this letter serve to represent that the Board of Peace is withdrawing its invitation to you regarding Canada's joining what will be the most prestigious board of leaders ever assembled at any time. Thank you for your attention to this matter."
Like, seriously, what the hell is this? This is like in elementary school when someone invites you to their party and you say no, and the kid fires back with, "Well, you're not invited anymore." We already freaking declined. This Truth Social post just clearly outlines how deranged, immature, and arrogant he is. We already knew this, but this drives the point home even more.
Now, we understand so far roughly 35 countries have committed to joining the board. None of the other permanent members of the UN Security Council have yet committed to doing so. The board was originally intended to end the war in Gaza, but Trump sees it as playing a wider role in global politics.
I think it was $1 billion just to join, and this would be the leader. Hell no. I'm glad we declined. I'm glad none of the other countries on the UN Security Council have committed. This so-called peace group is just going to be a train wreck waiting to happen, and I wouldn't want anything to do with it. Honestly, if our PM had agreed to this, I actually would have been pretty pissed. Let me know if you agree with me on this in the comments below. And if you do and you're not subscribed, help out my channel by hitting the subscribe button below. Now I want to show a video from Aaron Parnas. I like watching his videos. He gives a calm explanation on it and doesn't go over the top.
We have some news right now. Donald Trump is furious that Mark Carney upstaged him, the Canadian Prime Minister, in Davos, Switzerland. So he is uninviting Carney from the Board of Peace, an invitation that Carney already declined. Kind of feel like I'm watching a breakup where one side already broke up with the other. Dear Prime Minister Carney, please let this letter serve to represent that the Board of Peace is withdrawing its invitation to you regarding Canada's joining what will be the most prestigious board of leaders ever assembled at any time. Thank you for your attention to this matter. But Mark Carney in Canada already said, we're not going to join the Board of Peace. So Trump is withdrawing an invitation that had already been declined, which I'm actually not sure that one can do.
Well, you can do it if you're an immature little shit like the orange guy. Now let's hear from another fellow Canadian and her take on it.
Hey, so just because you sign your name on the bottom of something doesn't make it a letter. This came from Truth Social, so it's actually less than a tweet. And we're not too concerned about not being on your Board of Peace because we see it for what it actually is, which is a board of war criminals and pedophiles. So I think we're going to be just fine up here with our free healthcare, our heated rivalry, 20% of the Earth's fresh water, and our intelligent Prime Minister.
I wholeheartedly agree. There's absolutely nothing positive that can come out of this peace group led by the Tangerine Tyrant. And why we would even want to consider it after he said this about our country.
Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also, but they're not. I watched your Prime Minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
I know many of you can't stand this guy's voice, and I can't either. But someone in our Discord actually said I should switch the voice to the chipmunks instead. At least it's tolerable. But all jokes aside, can you imagine joining his group after he talks about our country like this? The sad part is that many on the right are taking what the chipmunk is saying as gospel. Every single day that goes by, every time he spews more... Every time he spews more garbage out of his mouth, the MAGA supporters will keep using it to spread hate, even long after this guy is gone. Now I want to move on to a report out of Las Vegas, where this hotel owner thinks that he can lure us back with discounts at par. Let's take a look.
It's been a steady decline of Canadians traveling to the U.S., mainly because of negative feelings towards the Trump administration.
Well, President Trump has said Americans don't need Canadian products. Some U.S. resorts say they want Canadian tourists to return. Here's Pat Foran with a consumer alert.
Border towns were the first to notice the impact of Canadians refusing to cross into the U.S., but now many states have seen drops in Canadian tourism of 20 to 60%. Some hotels in Las Vegas are now rolling out programs to try and entice Canadians to come back.
It looks like we're going to go through another cycle of the U.S. businesses ramping up their marketing, promotions, and deals to try to lure us back. And remember that a lot of states eventually gave up, some of them saying that it was because of the feedback that Canadians were giving them. And I know some of you last year actually emailed some of the tourism officials and businesses that I featured, basically telling them to shove their promo where the sun don't shine. But January is already over, and my guess is we're going to hear even more of these come back to the US pitches aimed at Canadians, especially as they try to target the spring break rush in March.
A U.S. report found that in 2024, Canadian tourism contributed more than $20 billion to the U.S. economy and supported 140,000 American jobs. But as many Canadians refuse to travel to the U.S., the hospitality industry is hurting. That's especially true in Las Vegas.
There's all the hotels behind me. They all want Canada to come back just as much as I do.
Derek Stevens, the CEO of Circa Resort and Casino, the D Las Vegas, and the Golden Gate Hotel and Casino, is taking a gamble that some Canadians will come back with a dollar-for-dollar deal.
We miss Canadians. And for me personally, I grew up in a border town of Detroit and Windsor, and I got to see how close we really all were.
How close we were, that's the key thing. As our PM said, my nostalgia stage with the United States is over. But you know what bothers me? And this is just my opinion. A lot of US citizens, businesses, and government officials will always say things like, we have history, Canadians have memories in our state, they enjoy our tourist attractions, and that we're close. But what have they actually done in Canada to show support for what their country is doing to ours? We've lost jobs because of their president. We've been hit by tariffs. And yet, it feels like history only matters when Canadians stop going and stop spending money in the United States.
Stephen says at his resorts, Canadians will get a financial break until August 31st with the At Par program. Canadian guests will receive $1 US in value for every Canadian dollar spent, regardless of the daily exchange rate.
I want to make sure that Canadians know you still have a lot of friends in America.
I understand why they're doing it. It's been really hard on American tour operators, the loss of the Canadian visitor.
Lauren Christie says he's not surprised Las Vegas casinos want to roll the dice on an idea to get Canadians back, but he questions if it will be enough.
I'm not sure that it's going to have much of effect. It may entice a few people going down, but anecdotally, from what I hear, people are just not interested in going to the United States this year.
And it's going to get worse in 2026. I know I probably sound like a broken record when I say this, but let's not forget that 2025 still had thousands, if not millions, of tourists around the world who booked their US vacations back in 2024, or before the Tangerine Tyrant took office, and many of them couldn't cancel their trips. Well, we've had a full year to assess the dumpster fire and process the absolute shit show happening in the United States. So looking ahead in 2026, I genuinely believe their tourism industry is going to take an even bigger hit than it did last year. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me on this.
Stephen says along with hotel charges being at par with the US dollar, Canadians will be able to redeem up to $500 in slot promotional play, as well as get deals on drinks. He's hopeful some Canadians will make the trip.
I could say there's a lot of Americans that hope that some of the rhetoric dies down and we get back to being what we really are, allies and best friends.
As Canadians shun U.S. travel, you can expect to see more promotions to try to get you to cross the border. But as long as tensions remain, even a dollar-for-dollar deal may not be enough to get Canadians to visit the U.S.
Okay, CTV, not bad. I actually agree with this report. And you pretty much spoke on how many Canadians are feeling right now about this one-for-one deal that they're trying to promote. In a sense, though, I do kind of feel sorry for this hotel owner. And I know there really isn't much that many U.S. citizens and this guy can really do. Because at the end of the day, It's up to the government on both sides to actually start to do something, or at least shut the tyrant up. But regardless of all these promotions that we're about to be hit with, I think a lot of this is just going to be wasted marketing money down the drain. And since this was a Vegas report, I'm willing to bet that the next big push we're going to start to see is from the border states with their special promos and cross-border deals. Speaking of the cross-border, the state of Maine is about to get hit with an ice storm. Not the weather ice, but the uneducated and can't pass a reading exam ice. Let's take a look at Governor Mills' state of Maine.
Oh, well, good morning to you. We're here in front of Portland's City Hall, where local leaders, much like their counterparts across the country, are basically in the dark about what ICE and DHS are doing here on the ground in the state of Maine. Sources tell MS Now there are about 200 federal agents here for what they're now calling Operation Catch of the Day. And we can show you.
What the hell kind of operation name is that? Even the names of their operations are disrespectful. Why not just call it Operation Dark Skin and Accents?
Cell phone video obtained by MS Now as this has started to ramp up. This was on Tuesday morning as about a half a dozen federal agents surrounded a man who'd been driving his car. They pulled him out of his car, put him in one of their cars, and drove off, leaving his car on the side of the road. We don't know who he was, why they were targeting him, or how they found him. We do know DHS released the pictures of 4 people they say they detained here in Maine over the past several days. They referred to them as the worst of the worst. But 3 of them actually were already convicted and adjudicated for crimes of various severity here in the state of Maine. Local officials say they weren't actually wanted for anything here in Maine. We talked to the mayor yesterday. He spent 32 years in law enforcement before he went into politics, and he told me what concerns him the most is the tactics at play, or the lack thereof.
I'm concerned. I mean, I really would love to look at their training records. How much time did they spend preparing their people for the work they're going to be asked to do?
I think it's something like 47 days from what I've read. But why do you even need their training records when the output we're seeing right now across the country includes shooting people in the face, detaining 5-year-old kids, and just being overall ruthless? It's not rocket science.
They're targeting Somali people. They are targeting immigrants. You know, if you're brown and you're black and you look like you may have an accent, they are stopping you. We are seeing what is happening in other parts of the country. So Maine is just another target, you know, and right now we are being targeted. The Somali community is right now being targeted today, but tomorrow it can be another community. So no one is safe. We don't know their exact tactics and stuff, but it's really to put fear in people, right? To other us and to intimidate us and say that we don't belong in this country.
Somali community today, Latino tomorrow, Asians next week. It could be anyone. But I wanted to show this report because Portland, Maine was a place that many Canadians used to visit. Just like here on the West Coast, if ICE suddenly started moving heavily into Bellingham and Seattle, I would want to know about it. It's not that I'm going to go, but it would also make me realize how much things have changed. And now that this is happening in another border state, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing even more ICE agents stationed along the border. And that's only going to make things an even bigger deterrent for people to go. So let me ask you something. For those of you who used to travel to Maine, or know people who are still going, do you think the fact that ICE is now active in that state will change people's minds? Because personally, I better not hear Governor Mills do another push trying to lure Canadians back. If she does, I will roast the hell out of her. No Canadian should be traveling to Maine or Minnesota with everything going on right now. And here's the sad part. Not everyone in the state of Maine is unhappy about ICE being there. Take a look at this guy I featured in a previous report.
One Lewiston man says he's lived here all his life, and the city needs what he calls a good ice storm. Others say it doesn't impact them either way.
I don't have a problem with it. Nope, more the merrier. Just let them come do what they want, and that'd be good.
You, sir, are a piece of shit and part of the problem. And that's exactly why my support for the so-called blue states has changed from when I first started this channel. Every blue state in the US has people like this. People cheering on ICE and their antics. A good ice storm? Seriously, fuck this guy. So I really hope this report on Maine serves as an eye-opener for Canadians in New Brunswick and Quebec. This is what the state of Maine has become. A place that you used to visit, the place that you used to spend your money as well. And now, a place for people like this guy are openly cheerleading for ICE. I know Quebecers and those from New Brunswick watching this right now are already boycotting. And it honestly saddens me to see the trust and a once familiar cross-border destination to you guys collapse like this. And if ICE ever starts to move heavily into Washington State, you can be sure that I'll be fired up when that happens. To close off this video on a happier note, the petition to have the Canadian media reviewed for foreign investors and influence is now at 4,776 signatures at the time I'm editing the... everyone just witnessed my dyslexia. Is now at 4,767 signatures at the time I'm editing this video. That's up from around 1,500 since I first started featuring it in my videos. If you want to sign the petition and help get it discussed at the government level, the link to the Our Commons petition will be in the description below. Let's see if we can get it pushed to 6,000 signatures over the next few days. Okay, that's all I have for today's video. And for those of you still watching and who haven't dropped off yet, I appreciate you sticking around to the end. Have a great weekend, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.